Hello, my name is Tim McGettigan. I'm a professor of sociology, and I'm also the author of a book called Good Science: The Pursuit of Truth and the Evolution of Reality. I wrote Good Science as a result of a series of events called the Science Wars. In recent decades, lots of respected scientists discovered that they simply could not agree about a number of basic ideas. One of those basic ideas was the concept of truth. Allow me to explain. Knowledge comes in many forms. Virtually any idea that pops into someone's head, from pink unicorns to space elevators, can be considered a form of knowledge. However, out of all the knowledge that humans generate, only a tiny fraction can be considered truthful. So that begs the question, what is truth? Typically, good science can be understood as knowledge that asserts a very, very clear linkage between truth and facts. Good scientists tend to view ideas that are not supported by facts as fantasies, such as a project recently launched by DARPA, the folks who brought us the internet, called the 100-Year Starship. It's a fantasy, it's not reality. Indeed, imaginative humans have a penchant for dreaming up all sorts of notions that, scientifically speaking, are rubbish. Consequently, good scientists usually draw a sharp distinction between facts and fantasies. Good science is devoted to the former and dismissive of the latter. In important respects, this perspective is entirely justifiable. Facts matter. However, I argue in Good Science that scientific progress is often contingent upon seeking truths that lie beyond established facts. In other words, fantasies often inspire scientific progress that facts might otherwise impede. In Chapter 1, I examine a critical juncture in the history of science, the trials and triumphs of Galileo Galilei. Good scientists often pay a hefty price for advancing new truths. Nowhere is this better illustrated than in Galileo's persecution at the hands of the Inquisition. Powerful forces repudiated Galileo for challenging sacred truths. In the end, Galileo was forced to recant. And good scientists the world over learned an important lesson. Knowledge and power are inextricably linked. In Chapter 2, I focus on the relationship between power and knowledge. Against the backdrop of Charles Darwin's efforts to develop the theory of evolution, I review the legendary debate between Karl Popper and Thomas Kuhn. Drawing upon the strengths of each argument, I advance an alternate definition of truth. As Darwin's intellectual progress illustrates, although facts may appear dramatically different from the perspective of one paradigm or another, truth is a consistent standard that enables good scientists to develop entirely new explanations for previously inexplicable facts. In Chapter 3, I examine the complexities of defining truth within the context of multidimensional social realities. Robert Dahl argued that good scientists should confine their inquiries to empirically observable facts. On the other hand, C. Wright Mills contended that most social phenomena could only be imagined. In other words, Mills believed that powerful people had the ability to mold the visible landscape of social reality to their advantage, much the way, for example, that the Enron Corporation operated throughout the 1990s. Thus, Mills insisted that if scientists only analyzed the landscape of visible reality, then they could not help but become the dupes of power brokers. Thus, from Mills' perspective, good scientists must be rebels. They can't just accept the world as it is. Instead, they must try to think beyond the world of appearances and use the power of their insight to redefine reality. In Chapter 4, I examine the influences of scientific fact production on the evolution of new realities. In the late 1950s, the U.S. and Soviet Union embarked on the space race. The early stages of the space race were marked by a seemingly endless series of Soviet triumphs. In an effort to boost the U.S. out of its technological doldrums, President John F. Kennedy challenged his countrymen to resolve a seemingly impossible problematic: landing astronauts on the moon by 1970. A problematic can be understood as a daunting intellectual challenge that can only be resolved by redefining reality. In resolving this problematic, the U.S. reinvented itself as the most technologically advanced nation on the planet. Thus, new truths can sometimes be more a product of fantasy than reality. In Chapter 5, I examine a contemporary and as yet unresolved problematic: AI. In 1950, Alan Turing proposed that computers would one day rival the intelligence of humans. In many ways, Turing's challenge has inspired the production of entirely new facts, or new types of smart machines. And in doing so, Turing's problematic has helped to transform the substance of social reality. While I disagree with researchers who argue that AI already exists, nevertheless, I believe that Turing's problematic will continue to inspire major technological achievements for some time to come. In Chapter 6, I review the celebrated debate between Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr. Although Einstein made crucial advancements in the field of subatomic physics, Bohr ushered quantum science into an entirely new and very weird realm. Although experimental tests have consistently supported the mind-bending tenets of quantum mechanics, Einstein remained an opponent of the theory to the bitter end. While his opposition may have damaged his stature among fellow physicists, his principled objections offer evidence of Einstein's unremitting commitments to good science. What lies ahead for the human race? It remains for us to decide. Though science has certainly created many varieties of new problems, overpopulation, pollution, global warming, nuclear waste, nuclear Armageddon, science has also opened up far more advantages, comforts, and opportunities than anyone could have imagined even a generation ago. I feel certain that if we want to create a better, brighter future, then we will need good scientists to continue elevating our thinking by pursuing bigger, more challenging problematics that in turn will transform today's fantasies, such as artificial intelligence, immortality, and yes, even 100-year starships, into tomorrow's realities.